Have you ever wondered, how much does it really cost to get into the Apple ecosystem and have the full experience, the minimum, the maximum price? And are there any alternatives that are cheaper and get you the same kind of experience? Now, Apple doesn't exactly sell you just devices. The Apple ecosystem is those devices working together to create like a seamless integration between the phones, the Macs, the iPads, the Apple Watches. You've got things like handoff, AirDrop, all kinds of different stuff that we'll go over that make the Apple ecosystem really very convenient for people. And in this video, I'm going to break down the costs, the pros and cons, alternatives, and most of all, the pricing of all this stuff, because I have never really sat down and priced out what the Apple ecosystem costs. So let's do that. And we'll go through all of the products, both the cheapest option and the more expensive option, not the most expensive option, because you could pay a lot more for higher end models of the computers, etc., etc. But we'll go through all the different products and get a sense of what it would cost to buy in. Now you can mix and match and that kind of thing, but this is for the entire ecosystem as it would work as a whole. Thanks so much for stopping by. If this is your first time here, thanks for being here, and hopefully you'll come back soon. Hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, thanks so much for coming back again. I truly do appreciate it. Now let's get on to the video. First off, we got the smartphones. The iPhone 16, just the base model, is I think about $799, and the iPhone 16 Pro starts at $999. You could also go to the Max model for another $200 at $1199. For the laptops, MacBook Air M3 13-inch starts at $1099. Now you can get the previous model for a little bit less right now. You can get all of that. And the MacBook Airs have become a much better option because Apple has bumped up all of the models to a base 16 gigabytes of RAM. So you're not hindered by the base RAM of 8 gigabytes anymore. If you want to go up to the MacBook Pro model, the MacBook Pro 14-inch, the M4 Pro is $1999 to start. Now you can get an M4 version of that same computer for about $1599, and that is a very good computer. There's nothing wrong. I've used that computer. It's a very good computer, but it's not officially a Pro model. So the first step in the Pro models is $1999, but you can go all the way up to $8,000, which why anyone would do that, I don't know, but you could. In the tablet space, of course, you have the iPad Air. Starts at about $599. Now the basic iPad starts at about $329, but the iPad Air I think is sort of considered right there in the middle. And if you want to go up to the Pro model, the iPad Pro 11 starts at $999. It's very nice. The 13-inch iPad Pro starts at $1299. Anyway, they're both the price of a MacBook Air. So you have to decide, do you want a MacBook or a MacBook Air? And as we'll find out later, you have to add stuff to the iPad to make it actually work like a laptop and do all the things that it can do well. Moving over to the smartwatch section, you can get a basic Apple Watch SE for about $259, and then the Apple Watch Ultra 2, like I have here in the sexy black color, is $799 to start. Now they can get more expensive, and of course you move up from the SE to the regular Apple Watch models, then those are more expensive as well. But those are the basic places between the two different versions of the watch. If you want to talk basic AirPods, you can start with the AirPods 4, but I wasn't a big fan of those. I really think the AirPods Pro 2 is the way to go at $249. Those are on sale quite often for anywhere from $200 to $150. But $249 is their base price. That's what you'd pay if you went to the Apple website. And then, of course, there's the AirPods Max. Whether it's the Lightning version or the USB-C version, you are paying $549. People love their AirPods Max. I think that $549 was a ridiculous price in 2020 when these were released, and the new version is just colors and USB-C. So thinking about $549 for a product that hasn't been refreshed really since 2020 in 2025 is kind of crazy. And then there's the HomePods. $99 for the HomePod Mini. $300 for the HomePod 2. It is a nice speaker, but when you can get a comparable Sonos speaker for less. Apple TV 4K, $150. And that to me is the best bang for the buck accessory that you can get for the Apple ecosystem. I love my Apple TV 4K. Use it all the time. You can use your phone as the remote if your remote has fallen into your couch, or you can cast music. You can use your AirPods seamlessly with it. It's really great. But the Apple TV 4K doesn't really shine until you start adding on the Apple TV Plus subscription, and that takes us to Apple's subscription services. This is where Apple has really started to make almost 50% of their money in recent years. And so you have iCloud, starts at 50 gigabytes for $1. Most people, I think, or at least, most people who have a lot of photos, et cetera, want to store stuff in there and not be crunched, is 2 terabytes is $10 per month. The subscription bundle, Apple One, I guess they're calling it now, is $37.95 a month for the family. If you wanted to get just a single person version, then it's, I think, $17. $17 isn't terrible for everything that you get. I mean, you're looking at Apple Music, Apple TV Plus, Apple News, Apple Fitness, Apple Arcade. All of those things together for $16, $17 a month is a good deal, but almost $40 a month, you really start to think about it, because you have to add in your other subscription services as well, because Apple TV Plus, of course, doesn't have all of the things, and everything that you add into an Apple TV, like an HBO or a Max, I guess, Netflix, et cetera, they all have their own subscription services. So what is the total buy-in for a fully spec'd out Apple ecosystem? Whether you go toward the more budget-friendly models, or you go for the more pro or more expensive models, you're looking at, for all of these things, and again, you can take some out and mix and match in any way that you want, but you're looking at around $4,500 to $6,500 to get in. And then if you wanted to add Apple Care for all your devices, you're probably looking at like $300 to $500 additional dollars for all those devices. And Apple Care Plus is the only extended warranty program that I really recommend, because especially with phones and other things that you take out of the house, the laptops, it really does make sense when you consider the repair costs without Apple Care to spend the extra couple of $100 to have that kind of safety. And then the annual costs for the Apple ecosystem tops out at, with iCloud and the family plan of Apple One, $600 per year. Apple One is $450-ish by itself. And when you put it that way, that's a lot. So what are the pros and cons of the Apple ecosystem? What are you getting for this money that you spend? Well, you get the seamless integration with the AirDrop, which I use daily, Handoff, which allows you to take your AirPods and move them from one device to another. And then you got Universal Clipboard, so you copy something on your phone and then you paste it to your computer, which is very, very cool. The hardware is generally better and has more longevity than a lot of the other devices. That's not true of everything, but the longevity of Apple devices, both in terms of the quality of the materials as well as the upgrade cycles of the software, is 5 to 7 years, give or take. And that is a pretty good bargain. And then when you're buying from one company and they control the software and the hardware, and they have different protocols for how they do their security features, end-to-end encryption, so nobody's looking in on what you're sending in iMessage or anything like that. App tracking transparency, which is something that not everything offers. That's a plus if you're security minded, and you probably should be. The ecosystem benefits also if you're a creative person. You've got Final Cut Pro, Logic Pro, Universal Control. The Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro is kind of a big deal because they're not as expensive as the alternatives, and you get a a perpetual license. So I bought Logic Pro 10 back in 2013 for $300, I believe, and I still have that same license, and it's been updated and upgraded many, many times over in the 12 years, and I've never had to spend another dollar. Whereas if you were using another recording program, you would have spent a lot more money either on the subscription model that a lot of DAWs have gone to, or buying the new versions as they often make you do. Final Cut Pro is also a perpetual license, and you get upgrades. And now they have Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro that are both available on the iPad, and those work seamlessly with Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro on the Macs. The cons of the Apple ecosystem, of course, significant upfront investment, premium pricing, is, to say the least. Limited customization. Once you get into the Apple ecosystem, you're kind of locked in there with the software and the services and all the bells and whistles that it offers. You really can't say like, oh, I'm going to try an Android phone. You lose everything that the iPhone brings to the ecosystem. If you don't go with Apple Care Plus, repair costs can be incredibly high. Third-party repair is limited, to say the least. Apple is right to repair is something that Apple is still not quite on board with. And then, of course, there's the lack of expandability. This might be the one that sticks in the craw of most people the most, because it's nice when you can buy a computer and upgrade it over time to meet your needs. But with Apple, you sort of have to buy what you think you're going to need for all the time that you're going to have that device. So you can't upgrade RAM. You can't upgrade the storage on your computers. I don't think you can upgrade anything in the Apple ecosystem. The last thing that you could upgrade in the Apple ecosystem that I can remember was the iMac 27-inch. You could add third-party RAM, which was nice, but that is no longer the case. That went away in 2020 with the new Apple M-series chips. Now we know what we're looking at with the Apple ecosystem, what we're looking at in terms of devices, what we're looking at in terms of cost. What are the alternatives to the Apple ecosystem, and are they comparable in both price and services and convenience? First, let's start by looking at the smartphones. We've got the iPhone 16 Pro model. That's $999. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra that just came out is $1299. Now, of course, you have multiple models of iPhones to choose from, and you have multiple models of Android devices to choose from, not only from Samsung, but also from other companies. Google has the Pixel 9 Pro, the Pixel 9 Pro XL, and then just the Pixel 9, and they also sometimes come out with a cheaper version of that. When you're looking at laptops, the MacBook Air, again, $1099. Let's say a Dell XPS 13 around the same price, $1099. A Asus ZenBook 14 OLED model is $999. You're going to get different configurations of chips and parts and specs and stuff from these different manufacturers. They're not using the Apple Silicon that has proven to be faster and cooler, and not cool like in Fonzie cool, but cool as in not as hot. If you want to go up to the Pro models, you've got the M4 Pro, MacBook Pro 14-inch at $1999, and then the Razer Blade 14. Now, this is configuration specific, and the prices can vary, but you're looking at about $2,400 for something like the Razer Blade models. The ThinkPad X1 Carbon is $1899. You can find a lot of different prices in the PC world. You can find a lot of different configurations, but some are going to be wildly more expensive than the comparable Apple models, and some are going to be a little bit less or just about the same price for comparable performance. On the tablet side, we've got the iPad Air at about $600, the regular iPad at about $329, and then you've got Samsung Galaxy S line of tablets. The comparable to the MacBook Air is about $799. I believe that's the Galaxy Tab S10 now. The OnePlus Pad is still out there, but not easy to find in stores or anything. It's $479. And then, of course, you have the Google tablet, which you can go to the Best Buy and get. And that's around $400 or $450 right now. Kind of comparable in the prices for the tablets as well. If you look at the watches, then you're looking at the Apple Series 10, about $400, and the Samsung watches are base price around $350 or so. Google Pixel Watch 2 is $349. For earbuds, the AirPods Pro 2, $249. The Sony WF-1000 XM5s are $299. The Bose Quiet Comfort earbuds are all around $249. And then Samsung and Google and all of the other phone brands have their own earbuds as well. If you ask me, the AirPods Pro 2 integrate better with your devices and offer more features than the others, but I guess that's why we're here doing this. And then in the smart home space, you've got the HomePod Mini, Amazon Echo, the Google Nest Audio, which I'm not even sure if Google has Nest Audio anymore. And then, of course, there are all kinds of different brands of Bluetooth portable speakers, like from Soundcore and other companies like that go for, the prices are wildly different. And you have Sonos as well, which I think Sonos is probably the most comparable to the HomePod line. And it's really debatable whether or not the ecosystem with Apple matters as much with the HomePods, since something like Sonos can get you the Sonos Arc Ultra, the Sonos 300, the Sonos 100, the Sonos 5, the Sonos Move, portable speakers. So there's just more variety with speakers for Sonos. When you're talking about a TV box, we've talked about Apple TV 4K being about $150, Roku Ultra around $99, NVIDIA Shield Pro, which pound for pound may be the best streaming box out there, is around $199. Cloud storage, 2 terabytes for $10 from Apple and 2 terabytes from Google for $10. You can also subscribe to Microsoft's cloud services, etc., etc. Then the subscriptions, you kind of have to do a little bit of juggling. You've got $37.95 per month for Apple One. And then to get comparable from Google, you got Google Play Pass, Spotify, and Netflix for a total of $40 a month. But Netflix has just raised their prices. So, maybe that's not always going to be about the same. So the alternative ecosystems cost anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000. And that is cheaper. But the areas where the alternative ecosystems fall short, even though individually, a lot of these are really great products, they don't have the seamless cross-device integration. They don't have handoff, AirDrop, universal clipboard, sidecar for the iPads. You can approximate these things, but I found it very difficult to make an Android/Windows environment as seamless as the Apple ecosystem. Samsung and Microsoft have linked to Windows, but they aren't quite as refined or universal. And when it comes to long-term software support and hardware, Apple's got 5 to 7 years of major iOS and macOS updates that are pretty much guaranteed, while Google and Samsung have bumped up their longevity of coverage to 4 or 5 years at this point, or they claim even more. None of their products that have that warranty have reached that place, so we don't know if they're actually going to support the products for as long as they say. And for Windows laptops, whether or not you get extended warranties or you get good customer service or anything like that is sort of dependent on the manufacturer that you choose. So you don't have the peace of mind that you do with Apple and Apple Care Plus. Apple customer service is very much considered the top of the line when it comes to customer satisfaction, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, creative software, Final Cut, Logic, macOS optimizations. I mean, there's even hardware acceleration on the new Macs for video production, audio production, started on Macs, and I feel is still better suited to Macs. This is something that I might do a video about here coming soon. The Adobe Suite is where most people go on Windows. Of course, there's DaVinci Resolve for video, and that's free unless you want the whole package, which is, I believe, $300. But the Adobe Suite for video editing, audio, graphics, etc., is incredibly expensive on a monthly basis. And I used to use Adobe stuff, but I do not anymore. Safety and security-wise, Apple has tracking transparency with their apps. You know, you can say, don't track this. And when you install an app, iMessage is end-to-end encrypted, so no one outside of you and the person that you're sending something to actually gets to see that. And then Apple has a lot of hardware security chips and integration. Android has gotten better over the years. Google's model is to collect data. I mean, they're a search engine, so they're collecting data, and that's where they really start to make their money, because Android is open software, and it doesn't necessarily cost anything to use it. So Google makes their money elsewhere, and usually that's off of your information. Is the Apple ecosystem worth it? Should you consider something else if you're just starting out? If seamless experience, longevity, and privacy matter to you, then Apple is better in all of those places, so maybe it's worth the price. But flexibility, cross-platform usability, and just being able to pick and choose what devices you use and what configurations you get without having huge Apple tax added if you want to add something to the computers, let's say, then anything outside the Apple ecosystem is going to be a better option for you. For me, Apple is a premium experience. And once you're in, you're kind of in. I've tried to get out of Apple's ecosystem many, many times and found it incredibly difficult, between using Final Cut, using Logic, having an iPhone, having everything that integrates together. I mean, it's a matter of selling everything that you have and then buying everything else again. And that makes it really difficult to escape the Apple ecosystem, because once you get used to it, it is really hard to get away. The alternatives, they can match a lot of the experiences, but because they're, different companies making devices, it's nowhere near as integrated and seamless. Yes, you can mix and match. Yes, you can get better deals on the Apple ecosystem if you buy used devices, if you mix and match expensive and less expensive devices. All kinds of different things are possible. While the Apple ecosystem costs money, and Apple is not necessarily, leading in innovation these days, I still find it really difficult to consider getting away from the Apple ecosystem and moving over to a Windows and Android world. What do you think? Is the Apple's ecosystem worth the price? Do you prefer small, mixed ecosystem? Let's have a discussion down in the comments. Once again, thanks so much for being here. My name's Jason. Until the next time, I'm out.